The rental housing situation in Canada is getting out of control thanks to interest rates being so high. And now with so many more people needing to rent prices increasing, tenants are now being vigilantes. In that they're refusing to leave when they're not paying rent, when they're smashing the property. And thanks to the Landlord Tenant Board, specifically in Ontario, tenants can pretty much do whatever the hell they want and get away with it. So in this video, I'm going to break down what you need to watch for, what's currently going on in the market from a guy who's owned 150 properties all here in Canada. And now I'm no longer investing in Canada. I'm investing in the US, in states like Florida and Texas, where this shit I'm going to tell you can't happen. But with that being said, let's get into it. So first and foremost, a professional tenant is rising in popularity in Canada. And what exactly is a professional tenant? No, I'm not talking about someone who has a career and they're a professional and they're astute and they're good people. No, a professional tenant is someone who knows the Landlord Tenant Board inside and out, knows what they can get away with and abuses it. And that is how they are a professional scammer, really. So this has always been a thing. Even when I started investing in long-term real estate in 2012, you heard about these scenarios where tenants wouldn't pay rent, but it was far few in between. And by the way, I will preface that with all of the properties that I've had, all these single family long-term tenant properties that I've had, I've only had about 1 or 2 instances where a tenant didn't pay rent, and then after some negotiating and some tough talking, they ended up paying about a month or 2 later. But that is because of the quality of the properties, the quality of the strategy that I was doing, which is single family real estate, which is the highest quality tenant there is. We were also buying properties and renovating them top to bottom, so they look tip-top shape. So I was really attracting that professional tenant in the real sense of they had a career, they had a family, they had the dog, the cat. Like they weren't in the business of fucking around and trying to mess around and have me sue them. These weren't those types of people. But that was back in 2012, 2014, 2018, right? I got out of my properties and sold them all during the peak of 2021, 2022. It's almost like I knew something was coming. But I sold all my properties then. Now, this is happening way more nowadays. Now that rent is so high, inflation is so high, people have a hard time buying food, paying for their car, paying for gas, paying for life. And on top of that, a crazy high rent payment. So these professional tenants are becoming more educated nowadays, knowing their boundaries, knowing what they can do, and not paying rent, screwing the landlord, living in the properties for months and months. I'm literally talking 9 to 12 months is common. The Landlord Tenant Board in Ontario is so backed up with so many cases and so few adjudicators, it's almost like they did it on purpose. Like there's nobody working there. They can't handle the volume. They can't handle the workload. And now that we're bringing in, 200,000 to 300,000 immigrants a year that land in Ontario, and let's be real, they're landing in Southern Ontario, we're just adding more and more tenants, 100,000 at least tenants a year, and we're not hiring more adjudicators at the Landlord Tenant Board to handle all this flow. So everything's being backed up. Tenants are living in property scot-free for 9 to 12 months. And in this country, we don't have a ledger system. You can't really file against the tenant's credit rating when they don't pay. So they're getting away with everything scot-free. No consequence to their credit rating. So they can just do it again and again and again to the next landlord, and nobody knows about their history. Now, from all of this tenant madness the past couple years and all the light that's been shown on it through YouTube videos like this, through social media, through online marketing, which is so much easier now, landlords are becoming much more sophisticated and much more aware of the problems that's going on in Ontario. And there's 2 things that are happening because of this. Number 1, a lot of landlords are turning their once long-term rentals into Airbnb short-term rentals or even mid-term rentals. Now, a mid-term rental is somebody who rents the house for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months maximum. That's called a mid-term. Now, the beauty is if you have a short-term or a mid-term rental property, this is outside of the Landlord Tenant Board rules. It's a gray area. So you're not bound to follow the same rules as the Landlord Tenant Board for long-term rentals, which means you can kick people out whenever you want. If they don't pay rent at the end of the month, gone. You can literally call the police and the police will come and treat this as a trespassing case. Simple. They're not a tenant. There's no contract signed. This is a short-term tenant, somebody that was renting it for 2 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, 4 months. They're not a long-term tenant. They are in my property illegally. Police, I want you to grab them and take them out because at this point, they're trespassing. This case closed, police come, drag him out, easy peasy. This is the way it should be, by the way, with long-term tenants. But under the long-term tenant rules, if they're a long-term tenant, well, now they can stay. You know, they have a family. There's processes you have to go through. You can't just call the police. You got to go through the motions. You got to sue them, essentially. And on and on and on, this drags on. So landlords are becoming sophisticated. They're going, if I just turn my property into a short-term rental on Airbnb, I immediately skirt all of this tenant crap. I think I'm going to do that. So we have more landlords doing that, which is reducing the amount of long-term rentals on the market for people to have, which, what does that mean? That increases the cost of rent. Why? We have lower supply and more demand. We have more immigrants coming in every single year, hundreds of thousands looking for rental properties, but we're not building right now because interest rates are so high. Builders are like, fuck that. Taxes are so high in Canada. When you build a property or flip a house, you got to pay a lot of money. So again, builders with everything going on are going, well, I'm not really building right now. So we're keeping supply low. People are still coming in. What happens to prices? Well, it's basic supply and demand. Prices are going to shoot up. And the more landlords that take their properties off of the market and put them on short-term Airbnb rentals, well, we all know that Airbnb costs a hell of a lot more on a monthly basis than a long-term contract does. So again, it's raising the prices. Now, the second thing that's happening because of all of this, and landlords are getting sick of this, they're just simply selling their properties and no longer investing in Canada, kind of like myself. A lot of investors, especially the more savvy ones who have been through the ringer, have been investing for years and years. The big landlords that you need in this market the most educated guys, they're buying the most properties. They're buying dozens. They're not just buying one property, two properties, like your typical mom and pop, investor who just want to own a second home for their kids in 20 years. No. I'm talking about the big boys, okay? Guys like me who are buying hundreds of properties. We're not buying anymore in Canada. Why would we? We're educated now. We know what's going on in the US, which is way easier than I ever thought to buy properties in the US as a Canadian. It's the same process, by the way. It's so fucking easy, but we've been kind of lied to, or I don't know, a veil was over our eyes for all these years going, well, it must be complicated, trans-border, sending money over the border. Oh, no, dude, it's so easy. So now that there's more education on it on YouTube like this, it's easily accessible. We don't have to go out and pay a lawyer $3,000 an hour to learn how to invest in no, dude. In fact, I got a free course below in the description showing you, a Canadian, how to invest in the US. I've already paid the thousands of dollars of setting up my corporations, speaking to accountants and lawyers. So don't worry about that. Get that free course below. But now with all this free information out, a lot of the big guys like me are going, I can invest in Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, these more red Republican states, and pay 0% taxes. Landlord tenant board is amazing. If a tenant doesn't pay after 30 days, I just simply call the sheriff, and like a week later, if they're still there, the sheriff drags them out of the house. What? We're seeing the light as Canadian investors. So with landlords being smarter and selling properties or putting them on Airbnbs to skirt around the landlord tenant board, it's just simply lowering the supply, raising the prices of rent. And who gets hurt the most? Like I always say, it is the middle class and the lower class, the general liberal voter who wants to see more regulation, more penalizing of the rich landlords, more penalizing for taxes. What does that do? You scare away all of the rich people. You scare away all of the investors like me who you desperately need to buy more real estate, bring more properties online, to raise supply, to bring demand and supply back in balance, which will lower prices, flatten them out. But you're not getting it because we're too fucking liberal. Too many policies, too many regulations, too many taxes. Now we're all leaving, going to the US, going to the promised land, the capitalistic haven of the world, where the market is the market. The government doesn't fuck with the market. And what happens? What's going on down there with real estate? It's way more stable. Real estate in the US is way more stable and safe than real estate in Canada. Now, I know I might have shocked you. I didn't realize this either because I always thought real estate in America is crazy. Look at 2008. The whole fucking market just got wiped out. Yeah, that was a weird one-off scenario. They've totally changed their financing system then. But when it comes to the market being the market, yo, their real estate prices aren't doing this. Okay, it's just a nice gradual increase. The market is chugging along. Rental prices are in balance. Why? It's just more of a capitalistic society. It incentivizes investors to build. They don't have the supply crunch that we have here where you can't find a rental property. There's not nearly enough homes to buy. Like there's not enough supply there as well, but it's not like here where it's like a legit crisis. They don't have a housing crisis down there. They're talking on Fox News, CNN about the housing crisis. Get the fuck out of here. They haven't seen nothing yet. Come to Canada. Come to Australia. That's a housing crisis. They don't have that in America. Now, it's not all bad. There is one strategy, one saving grace that you can do in Canada to get a tenant to leave, and that is the blissful, the long-awaited N11 form, a notice to leave with the tenant ending the lease. See, that's the real key. You can try and get a tenant to leave by doing a renovation where like you're doing a massive renovation or you have a family member moving in and there's another form for that. But that is all based around the landlord causing something to happen where the tenant has to leave. That's not going to hold up in court too well. You're going to make it to look like a bad person if the tenant really wants to challenge it. Now the best thing you can do is have a tenant end the lease and they sign it saying that they're ending it. That's what we did a bunch of times. So we did a strategy often called cash for keys, where we would pay a tenant $5,000, $10,000, even as high as $12,000 to leave because we knew that the rental was outdated, the house is old, they're paying $800 rent. And the most common strategy when we would do this is when we bought a rental property like a multifamily building and old tenants were there that we were assuming and we didn't really want them because they were only paying like $600 a month rent because they've been there for like 10 years and the month was outdated. We knew that the rent could be, $1,800 if I put in a new kitchen, some new flooring instead of $600. So what I would say is, hey buddy, I'll pay you $5,000 to leave. I'll pay you $10,000 to leave. And a lot of times tenants would accept it. And then we would get them to sign that tenancy ending form where they were ending the tenancy early on their accord. Now, it sounds all good. You would think that if you sign a contract, I paid the money or whatever, they signed it, boom, boom, done. Well, in Ontario, it's not the case until it's the case, okay? It's not the case until they leave because they can sign that form agreeing to leave in 30 days from now, 60 days from now. But if they don't want to leave the day before, right up until the day before, right up until the day of, if they say, you know what, I changed my mind, thanks for the $10,000, but I ain't leaving. Now you got to go through the process of suing them, going to the landlord tenant board, waiting 9 to 12. Like, dude, tenants are getting so smart now that they're accepting cash for keys and they're not leaving. They're playing you. It's a total scam. So honestly, with everything I just said, this is why we no longer invest in long-term real estate in Canada. Don't get me wrong, because people ask me this all the time because they see me buying properties still, multiple properties every single month in Ontario. I still flip real estate in Canada. Flipping real estate in Canada is absolutely amazing. The tax code for active income is way better. I only pay 15% tax when I flip properties in my corporation. So that's all cool and all. It's pretty close to Florida. And I don't have to worry about long-term tenant rules, whatever. I'm just playing the active income flipping game. So that I will do in Ontario all day long because real estate in Ontario is madness. People will pay crazy prices. The demand is absolutely crazy. There's not enough supply. All the fundamentals are saying buy. Quick term real estate for sure. But long-term real estate, disgusting. So now we're bringing all of our partners down and we're going to buy long-term real estate in Florida, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, like I said, these more red Republican states where it makes sense to buy long-term real estate. Capitalism is alive and well in those states. So if you want to learn how to invest in America as a Canadian citizen, if you're watching this, like I said, check out the links below. I got a free course down there showing you how to buy in the US. I also have a free course showing you how to raise capital the way I do, how to build a brand on social media and attract joint venture partners. Because once you learn how to buy real estate in the US, cool, you're going to be so excited. But you ain't got no money. Nobody knows you. Nobody wants to partner with you. Cool. Get my other free course to learn how to build a brand. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next video.